All right, hope you guys are excited. Buckle in. This one gets a little bit more complicated, but we're gonna talk through it. We'll make sense of it. But yeah, let's take a look. We have a picture inside a frame that has an area of 375 centimeters squared. So the difference with this problem is when you guys have had your pictures, they give you the dimensions of your picture. You know, maybe it's 9 by 11 or something like that. We don't know what the dimensions of the picture are, but we do know that the area is 375. We can see that there's a frame that is X units going all the way around, and we know that the total length is 20 centimeters and the total width is 30 centimeters. So how do we approach this problem? Well, we're going to focus on the information we were given. We were given that the picture has an area of 375 centimeters squared. So we're going to write an equation for the area of the picture. We can see that the picture is a rectangle. So area equals length times width. And then I'm just going to make a note that this is not an equation for the total area. This is just an equation for the area of the picture because that's what they gave us. That's kind of the key information here. All right, so let's fill in what we can. The area of the picture is 375, so we're going to plug that in for our area. Now the tricky part is what is the length and the width of the picture? We don't know. Here's what we do know. We know that this whole length is 20 centimeters. So if we take that 20 centimeters and we remove, here I'm going to use a little eraser, we remove this X from that side and we remove this X from this side. Do you see how that's leaving us with the length of our picture? So how do we remove? In mathematics, we subtract. So our length of our picture is going to be 20, the total length with the frame, minus the frame. And we have, you just saw me do it. I just erased an X over here and I erased an X over there. So we removed 2 of those X's, so minus 2X. So that is the length, 20 minus 2X. All right, same idea. The width, we know that the whole thing is 30, and we want to remove an X from the top and remove an X from the bottom so that we are left with just the width of the picture. So the width of the picture is the total 30, and we take out those 2 X's in the frame. So 30 minus 2X. And that's how we get our equation to work with. So we're going to put this into standard form. So set our equation equal to 0. We're going to multiply everything out. And then we got some fun factoring ahead. It's a good review, but just make sure you're paying attention. All right, so we are going to distribute the 20. 20 times 30 is 600. 20 times a negative 2x is minus 40x. Now let's distribute the negative 2x. Negative 2x times 30 is negative 60x. Negative 2x times negative 2x. That is a negative times negative, so it's going to be a positive 4x squared. All right, so I'm going to do a couple things all together. We do want to set our equation equal to 0, so we're going to subtract 375. I'm going to subtract it from its like term over here. That gives us 0 equals. Now when I rewrite all of this, we're going to combine like terms, but I also want it in the proper order, which means I want the x squared term first. So I'm going to write the 4x squared. And then we've got some x's we can combine. Negative 40x minus 60x is minus 100x. And now we can do that math. What is 600 minus 375? A positive 225. Okay, so we've got standard form. We have our equation set equal to 0. Now let's factor it. Well, once again, we have to take note of our x squared term. It has a 4 in front. Can we divide both sides of the equation by 4? Well, we can, but we only want to do it if things divide evenly. We don't want to do factoring with decimals. You guys have never even seen that before, so we're certainly not going to start doing that now. This term will divide by 4. 100 will divide by 4. 225 will not divide by 4. So we're stuck with this 4 in front of the x squared. We cannot find factors of 225 that add up to negative 100. It's not going to work out. So this is a good review. The other factoring method that we did with trinomials was our grouping method. So we're going to take A times C. 4 times 225 is 900. We want factors of 900 that add up to negative 100. So those factors are going to be 10 and 90. But because they have to add up to a negative 100, we're going to make them both negative. Negative 10 times negative 90 is positive 900. And when you add those together, you get the negative 100. Okay. So if you remember, factor by grouping, we carry down the first term, and we replace this negative 100x with these two factors that we found. We're going to say minus 10x minus 90x, and then we carry down that last term of plus 225. Now we do our grouping. We're going to group our first two terms, and we're just looking for a GCF. These two terms have a GCF of 2x. So if you factor a 2x out of both terms, that's going to leave you with 2x minus 5. Now we're going to group these two terms. The GCF for these is 45. But because our leading term is negative, remember you want a negative GCF. So we're going to factor out a negative 45. Negative 90x divided by a negative 45. Oh, actually, here's our negative 45. And then we get a positive 2x. And then 225 divided by negative 45 is a negative 5. Remember, with factor by grouping, here's our checkpoint. Do our parentheses match? They do. So 2x minus 5 is in one parenthesis. And then this 2x and this minus 45 go in the other parenthesis. I'm going to carry down our equal 0. Now we have factored form. We have factored form set equal to 0, so we can set each factor equal to 0. 2x minus 5 equals 0. 2x minus 45 equals 0. I can predict fractions because of the 2 in front of the x. We don't always get a fraction. You know, maybe it will divide evenly, but we know we're going to have to divide by the 2. So we add 5 to both sides. 2x equals 5. Divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals 5 halves. We're dealing with a word problem, so decimals are also okay, as long as we don't have to do some weird rounding. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. Then we're going to solve this one, add 45 to both sides. 2x equals 45, divide by 2. 45 divided by 2 is 22.5. All right, so because it was a quadratic equation, we got two solutions. And let's just see if both solutions make sense in the context of our problem. Now, normally I would say, because x represents the width of your frame, I think it is, right? We need to make sure we don't have any negative values. They're both positive, so it's real easy to say, oh yeah, they're good, they're positive. But if we look at our picture, we got a 2.5 and a 22.5. Here's where we're going to have an issue. If this length is 20 total centimeters, then is it possible for the length of the frame, just this part right here, to be 22.5, to be bigger than what the whole length is? That's not possible because we have our picture frame, we have our x value here and another x value there, so that 22.5 is just too big. It doesn't make sense when we go back and look at it. So x equals 2.5. which is the width of the frame. So the width of the frame is 2.5, and then our unit is centimeters.